Hello everyone and welcome to our live studio show here in Lockett. It's round 14 of MXGP and our studio guest this week, well, in MX2, somebody who is most definitely on the up. We've got an MXGP guest who is still maybe trying to find himself in that class this year after a season full of injuries. And in our manufacturers section, we have a team manager who this year supports, well, he's received some sponsorship from the outside, so he's no longer a private team. I'm talking about Steve Turner, Tommy Searle, and this guy here, Tim Gajser. But before we go any further, let's take a quick look at what happened a week ago, or 2 weeks ago actually, in Finland. Here's some highlights from MX2. Some last-minute preparation from the mechanic on Roman Fevre's machine as he takes a look to his right, sees Jordi Tixier alongside him. Paul Jonas went a little too early at the start of the moto, and it wasn't a great reaction for Fevre. In moto number 2, he swung right across the back, but he was left with a lot of work to do at the start of the second race as Boutron grabbed another foxhole shot ahead of Gajser and Herlings. But before the end of lap 1, Herlings put this pass on Boutron to storm into the lead. Gajser was in 3rd, Tixier was in 4th. The battle for 5th didn't last very long. Dylan Ferrandis up the inside of Alexander Tonkov. The Frenchman then set off in a quest for a potential top 3 position as Herlings set about pulling away as fast as possible from Boutron and Gajser as they battled over 2nd position. That battle would last 2 laps before Gajser found a way up the inside of the Spaniard, who tried to retaliate but was unable to make the pass stick. Gajser was there in 2nd. Boutron then retook Tixier, who retaliated 3 or 4 corners later, and that was Tixier up into 3rd as Petr Petrov, suffering with poor starts all weekend, climbing up from 15th position on his charge to an eventual 6th place. Dylan Ferrandis carved his way up the inside of Boutron. That put him into 4th, around about 7 or 8 laps in. He then went after Tim Gajser as a rider fell, split the 2 riders. Gajser hanging on to 2nd, but Dylan Ferrandis eventually carved his way through. Jeffrey Herlings was invincible here in the deep sand of Finland. And the Red Bull KTM rider took the checkered flag to win moto number 2 from Dylan Ferrandis and Tim Gajser. Tixier was 4th, Jose Boutron was 5th, and the overall Grand Prix once again belonged to Jeffrey Herlings. That's 22 moto wins now, his 43rd career Grand Prix victory, and he is now 145 points clear of Jordi Tixier as we go to Lockett in the Czech Republic. And that's where he clinched his 2nd title a year ago. So Herlings of the Netherlands will be looking to do it again in the Czech Republic and pick up title number 3. Well, that was Havinka a couple of weeks ago, and the guy who finished 2nd overall that weekend, Tim Gajser from Garibaldi Honda, joins me now. Tim, that was your 4th podium this year. You're now 5th in the championship. It's looking pretty good for you at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, the season so far is going really good. In the beginning I have some problems, and now with every race I feel more comfortable on the bike, and yeah, it's getting better and better every race, so yeah, we will see.
But after finishing 3 times last year, let's remind everybody, you started the season in EMX 250, had a couple of bad rounds, decided, okay, make the move to MX2. Towards the end of the season, from the middle to the end, you took a 6th, a 7th and 8th place finish. So when you started this season in Qatar and Thailand, for instance, things weren't so good, were they? Were you thinking, man, you know, it's going to be a tough season again, or did you still have the faith that things would be okay?
No, I was thinking that it will be okay, but you know, the start of the season I was want to be on the top 10, something like that, and then just growing and learning and take some confidence and yeah, try to come in the top 5, and that's happened in Brazil in the 3rd round. So from then I start riding better and better, and yeah, the results also come. So
yeah, well, like I say, you know, the first 2 GPs, 9th and 18th, then you had 5 GPs where you were inside the top 10. Yeah. So at that point we're thinking, yeah, okay. And then you arrive in, you know, that took us to Spain. And then I think Matterley Basin, your first podium. a place that you know very well. You won a 125 European Championship there. You had a big crash there last year. But that first podium at Matterley Basin, you know, what did that mean to you? What did it mean to the team?
Yeah, it mean a lot for Honda, because also Bobby was not there, because he have some problem with the visa and stuff like that. So yeah, it was many problems, but anyway, I did some good passes in the second race, also some mistakes, but in the end I finished third, so it was my first podium in this class, and I was really happy, and I think all team was really happy about that.
I mean, I guess the progress came, as we said, the previous races anyway, getting more and more confidence with the bike and the team, and it's your first year with Honda, of course. Working with the Japanese, HRC are in the background a little bit. So, you know, we see the Japanese technicians, they are at the circuit every weekend, more for Max and Bobby, of course, in MXGP, but they're also there a little bit in the background for you, I presume.
Yeah, we work together really hard, and the bike improving so every weekend, and yeah, I really like the work with the Japanese and also with Honda Garibaldi, so yeah, we are really good. So
this is the moment when the flag went out. Did you already know at that point you were third overall?
Yeah, I know that Tixier need to be 2 positions behind me, so yeah, when I pass Faber, I know it.
As I say, we're used to seeing you on the top step of the podium there. You were a little bit confused. It's been a long while since you were there. Which one is it now? Okay, the third one. It's not familiar, but you found it eventually.
Yeah, it was good.
Good, good. How was the weekend there, the track and everything else? Because obviously a lot of people like Matterley.
Yeah, it was good. In Saturday we have some rain, some showers. It was a little bit muddy. I didn't have perfect qualification race. I was, I think, out of the top 10, something like that, 14, something like that. But then, yeah, I did 2 solid starts, top 10, and then make some passes and finish first race in 4th and second race in 3rd for 3rd overall. So it was good.
And then three rounds later, we saw you back on the podium in Germany, which I guess from your side was almost the perfect weekend, wasn't it? Second in, you were in the top in all the free practice sessions, second in the qualifying race, 2 seconds. Again, another big step forward for you in Tuischenthal.
Yeah, it was. I really like the track there, because also last year we had their MX of Nation, and they changed a little bit the track, and I really like the track. It's high speed and some big jumps, so yeah, it was good.
When we watch you ride, I mean, okay, perfect weekend. One small mistake here, but
it was
even
2 also in the qualification.
Yes, I remember tweeting that one. But you know, when we see that and you make some small mistakes, it's almost like you couldn't crash that day. You know, you were just in a new zone and a new level.
Yeah, I was feel really good, also confident. I have good starts. 2 times in top 3, I think, and then make pass early in the race in the second lap, and then just ride my own race and yeah, enjoy it.
Makes a big difference when you have a clear track.
Definitely, yeah.
And again, another podium. What are you thinking at this point now? Are you thinking, yeah, maybe I'm getting closer to Jeffrey, maybe I'm getting closer to the race win, or maybe a GP victory, or are you just thinking, at the moment, I'm just happy to be there?
Yeah, for sure, it's good to be on the podium and try to be always there, but yeah, like I said, I will do my best, also try to be here, so we will see.
From the outside, when we watch the progress of you and the team at Garibaldi Honda, we already mentioned them a moment ago, the Japanese technicians, from the first rounds, because let's be honest, you know, the last couple of years, maybe Honda hasn't been as strong in MX2 as we'd hoped. Everything is KTM at the moment. You have the occasional performances from Kawasaki, some from Yamaha. Honda, the last few years, they've almost not put too much effort in the MX2 program. So when HRC came in this year, we're thinking, okay, here they come with a special bike. So when you didn't get the results in the beginning, we're thinking, oh, maybe they have some work to do. But we've seen the progress. So there must be a lot of work, more than maybe even Giacomo is, you know, letting on. I say to him every week, oh, Honda must be putting in some effort this weekend. No, it's the same bike we had in the beginning of the season. I know that's maybe not the case, but, you know, you guys must be working really hard.
Yeah, we make some changes during the weekends. So, yeah, the bike is improving, like I said, and, yeah, hopefully this winter we will build a little bit better for the next season, like... yeah, it will be better also for me, and try to be yeah, there.
Well, you've had 4 podiums this year so far. The last 3 GPs you've had a second, a third and a second. But this weekend it's a little bit different. No Jeffrey, of course. Jeffrey Hurlings broke a femur riding at a charity race on Monday. So that leaves everybody on the MX2 start line this week. No one has ever won a GP out of you guys. I guess you're in the best position because even if you win every single race, you're 204 points behind. There's only 200 on the table, so you still can't win the championship. So everyone is saying maybe you're more relaxed than Tixier, than Ferrandis, than Febvre.
Yeah, I'm really relaxed. I will go out there, try to make good starts, 2 good starts, and just ride like I know and enjoy it.
Yeah. But if you think then, obviously you can't win the title, and if Jeffrey cannot make a return and cannot defend it, who do you think will win it out of Ferrandis, Febvre and Tixier? If you, yeah, I know it's a tough question because you're riding with these guys and you're going to be taking points from them tomorrow, but knowing them how you know them, if you were to say, absolutely, this guy could win the championship this year.
No, I will say that the best guy will win, so we will see.
Okay, well, look, obviously we wish you all the best for this weekend and for the rest of the season. Tim Gajser, thanks for coming in. Right, before we meet our next guest from MXGP, let's take a look what happened in Avinca 2 weeks ago in MXGP. Very pensive-looking Tony Cairoli and Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. The title race now down just to those 2 guys. And Kevin Strybos looking at trying to improve on that 5th place in Moto number 1. Good reaction from Max Nagel. An even better one from Tony Cairoli. On board with the Die Cup, going through turn 1, just behind Ludwig Soderberg. Frossard getting pitched out of the seat there, going through the first turn. But he came out well in around about 5th place. Yellow flags are out. Tommy Searle landing on Ludwig Soderberg's bike, as seen there by Kender Dijker. And then Johnny Roos, not respecting the yellows, launched himself into Searle's bike and down the track. All 3 riders were okay. Cairoli once again showing everybody a clean pair of wheels as he looked to do damage once more. Van Hoorbeek was well placed in 2nd, this time being pushed all the way by Frossard. Simpson was 4th, Nagel 5th, and then Van Hoorbeek went out on lap 4. And that was a massive boost to Cairoli in terms of the championship. Van Hoorbeek had to come in, make some running repairs, adjust the clutch, straighten the bars, pull the radiator out, and he was again up and running, but he was down in 18th. Frossard, he stalled the engine, couldn't get going again, so he dropped down from 2nd position, remounted in 6th, and went on the charge back after his rivals that had just gone by him. The first one to suffer was Max Nagel. That pass put Frossard back into 3rd place. Then he went after Sean Simpson. A couple laps later, the Frenchman was through on the green Kawasaki. That put Frossard up into 2nd place. Meanwhile, Kevin Strybos on the charge after a poor start. Found his way past Rui Gonçalves on the bike at Cosworth Yamaha, then Max Nagel, then went after Dean Ferris, all in the closing 3 laps. Found a way past the Australian on the Ice One Husqvarna. That put him up into 4th. Then he went after Sean Simpson. Tony Cairoli took the win in Moto number 2. That secured victory. Frossard came home in 2nd. And Sean Simpson just managed to hold off Kevin Strybos for 3rd. So Strybos came home 4th, but it was enough to get him on the podium overall in the GP. Cairoli wins then, 2 wins out of 2. Frossard on the podium for the first time since 2011. Strybos 3rd, and Cairoli now has a 62-point advantage over Jeremy Van Hoorbeek as we go to Lockett in 2 weeks' time. So that was a couple of weeks ago. My next guest, Tommy Searle, CLS Kawasaki Monster Energy MXGP, is here now. Tommy, obviously after a rookie season last year, you changed things up in the winter, new training facilities, new location, new, routine and all the rest of it. First of all, how was that going through the winter coming into the first round in Qatar?
Yeah, no, everything was going as I would hope. I had actually had a couple of little setbacks before that. I crashed in December and hurt my leg, and then so that put us on the back foot a little bit. It took a little bit longer to start riding and stuff, but coming in, I was just getting my confidence up. Qatar was, pretty average. It was all right, but, I didn't feel very confident coming in just because of that injury. And then after that round, I didn't feel great coming in, and then so I got quite good results there. I think it was 5th and a 6th, which wasn't too bad, and then so that gave me confidence, like I can get those results with how I was feeling. And then coming into Thailand, I started to feel better, and then I obviously had a crash.
And obviously, I mean, it's fair to say then, since then, things haven't gone according to plan, have they? Let's go back to Thailand. First race looking good, 4th for the first few laps, and then around lap 9, lap 10, it was kind of like the worst thing that could have happened, really.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, really. So it's just one of those things, I guess. It's not nice for it to happen, but it can happen in a sport, and unfortunately it happened to me on that jump. And then, but then, yeah, it's a long comeback from there. And then I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I'm struggling a little bit with the starts, but yeah, it all comes down to then and just confidence building and trying to get myself back where I need to be.
I mean, what actually happened? I know there was a lot of issues about fuel and that kind of thing. You weren't the only guys to suffer, but was it just like a big bog on the takeoff of that big jump in the middle of the track?
Yeah, I was just coming up to it like any other lap, and then I went to. You sort of come up to it, you're on the throttle, you shut off a little bit, and then you go again to get the you want to get quite a lift over that jump because the corner's quite tight after it, so you don't want to hit it as fast as you can because then obviously you're going to be going too fast through the air, so you want to give it a little bit more lift, and that's what I tried to do there, and it just and there was just nothing. The bike just stopped, so it's it was game over really. I just remember coming up short on the front, and that was legs. It from there.
I mean, we never saw it. I'm glad to say we didn't see it. I've seen footage in magazines and that kind of stuff. But, in terms of the injuries that you sustained, how are you feeling now? There's obviously a longer layoff than you thought, or not? Was it quicker than you thought it would be?
A bit of both, really. It's quite an awkward injury as it was shattered, and then I had to have surgery out in Thailand. So it was all a little bit shaky, do you know what I mean? Because it's not ideal to have surgery in Thailand on something that could be my career. So
but it went okay there though, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I think they'd done a good a job as they could. They spoke to a surgeon here, and one that we trust, and then he said what he recommended here, and then they done exactly what they said. So it couldn't have gone much better there. The injury, it healed like we expected. It was probably faster. I think it was 8 weeks, and then we started to ride. It was a little bit painful at first, but then just trying to build up from there on out, really.
And after that, then, did you, obviously coming back from an injury, it's a different kind of training, isn't it? So your rehab and training together, did you have to switch things up a little bit, knowing what you knew from coming into the season, how you were feeling? Was it almost refreshing in some ways to be able to take a step back and say, actually, if I tweak here and tweak there, I know that we're going to be going in the right direction? Or did you just jump back straight the same program as before?
No, it's a little bit like, obviously I worked a lot on fitness when I was out, but it was hard to do some strength stuff, obviously, because I couldn't grip anything, and then it was just rehabbing stuff, really. Once I got on the bike, I was quite confident that I could ride, and then I actually tried to come back at Balkansward because I'd been practicing on some tracks, but when I got to a race situation, it was a lot different. When you're riding on your own, you can do your own thing and miss a bump if you need to, but in a race situation, you can't. You just have to hit everything. So then we realised we wasn't quite ready. The team gave us some time to get ready for the next race, and then we come back in England and it started going better. But just just rehabbing was, it was just what I had to do every single day, and that's my life really. It was just in the gym doing that, going there, going to physio, going to laser, doing absolutely everything I could to get myself back on a bike.
And you just mentioned Valkenswaard a minute ago. The problem then wasn't pain in the wrist so much, just you weren't ready to come back racing? No,
it was a little bit of both. When you were riding the track and you're hitting those sort of bumps, and it was just nervous, and then it was I could end up hurting myself worse, for a result that it wasn't going to be great. So I didn't want to put myself in that position.
So you took a little bit of time off, came back 2 or 3 races later, Matchley Basin, British Grand Prix. I saw you on the Friday, asked how everything was just briefly, and you said, yeah, I'll be good for top 5. That's exactly what you did. So you were more confident there, weren't you?
I was a lot more confident coming back there than I would have been to Valkenswaard.
How was the track, actually, at Matchley?
Yeah, it was nice. They always make a good job there. We had a lot of rain on the Friday, but then, I think it's always one of the best tracks of the year.
Did you feel a little bit more pressure maybe coming in than usual because you'd had the layoff and that your name will sell tickets for the the GP of Britain, but having not ridden, having not raced really since Qatar, really, you didn't even finish the first race in Thailand. Did you feel a certain amount of pressure, expectation from the fans there for you to do well, or was it just a case of, you know what, this is where I'm at, we're mid-season almost, and, you know, I'm just going to get on and enjoy it, and if people come, great, if they support me, great, and if they're not happy, yeah, then whatever, you know? What was your mindset coming in?
It's just one of those things. It's another race. It wasn't too much pressure, but I always put pressure on myself, and, you know, I want to do good for the team because they stood by me when I was injured, and then yeah, I just want to do good, and I want to prove to everyone, prove to myself that I'm a top guy, and it's still the situation now. Like, I want to do my best, and you know, every weekend it seems the same amount of pressure every weekend to go do good. It doesn't matter whether you're doing good or you're doing bad, but it's always, I don't know, I'm always nervous going into the races every weekend. I put maybe too much pressure on myself to do good, but it's how I've always been, and I expect that's how it's always going to be.
Well, 5th overall there at Matterley, but since then it's been a little bit up and down. I guess you're a little bit frustrated with how things have gone then, because you did come back in top 5. From there you kind of go, right, how far before we get a podium? But it's not been like that, has it? One more podium since then. One more top 5 since then only.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's up and down in this sport. I think when you just come back racing, I've struggled a lot with starts, and with the, not so much with the bike, but just with our starts. You know, we're trying to do what we can do, but we've only got so much we can work with where we're at the moment, and it's just me coming through the pack every race, and that's what I've been able to do, and or it's just seeing how far I can come through. It seems like that every weekend. There's not been a race where I've started up there with them people, but you know, that's my goal this weekend, to try and do that, and just do the best I can.
What about Sweden? That was top 5 again there. How was the weekend for you in general? I mean, obviously similar conditions to here as well, actually, you know, hard and slick, and they ran the track in the opposite direction, didn't they? 5th overall. I say 5th overall because obviously that's my job to sort of look and sort of see how you've done, but you probably just thought, yeah, I wasn't on the podium. Don't care whether I'm 4th, 5th or 25th.
Yeah, I can't even really remember the races, to be honest, in Sweden. I'm just trying to think now, but...
Well, it's his second race when you were battling the second half of the motor with Stephen Frossard.
Yeah, the races was all right in Sweden. It was just, I didn't really like the track, but there's lots of tracks, the GP. I mean, it's good in one reason and bad in another reason, but the tracks change so much. They're all so different, and I think that's one thing that is sort of good for a world championship. You know, we do race so many different sorts of ground, but, you know, some struggle with and that, but it was all right. It was a pretty average race. My starts again were pretty bad, and then I just tried to do the best. The first race, I think I come through the 6th, and the second one a 5th, but it just seems to be coming from the back of the pack every weekend, so I've got to put myself in a position where I can fight with those the leading pack from the front.
Did you see this?
Yeah, that was a, I don't know, nasty moment for him.
Yeah, and it just illustrates, doesn't it, how much faster he was going than we probably thought going into that corner, the way that he went through the barriers there. But where are you now in terms of your mindset? We're 4 races to go, as in GPs here, Belgium next week, Lommel, then obviously the 2 flyaways in Goyas and Mexico and Leon. Not sure what your contractual situation is. Is it your final year at Kawasaki? Are you in talks? Not asking for a commitment to sort of say, this is where I'm definitely going, but is that also detracting a little bit from the riding a little bit, or no? That's why you have a manager, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I have a manager, but I've been with my team now for 4 years, and, you know, they've stood by me for 4 years, so I mean, whatever the situation is, whether I end up at Kawasaki or I end up somewhere else, I mean, there's talks where, you know, I just want to do the best for my future, which I'm not sure about yet and how it's going to go. I mean, we're still talking, and managers still talking, but yeah, I want to do the best for me. You know, I don't want to go out on a weekend and do bad. You know, I want to do good, whether it's on whatever bike I'm on. In that situation, I'm always going to do my best in the situation that I'm in. So yeah, the last 4 races I want to do as good as I can, like any other weekend.
But fitness all 100% again?
I tweaked my thumb last weekend, the last lap of the British Championship, so we're struggling a little bit there, but I think with some painkillers and stuff, we can get a good weekend.
And before we go, obviously end of September, Monster Energy Motocross for Nations. If you were picking Team GB, who would you pick at the moment?
Sean Simpson, I think, myself, and then the third rider. I think that's what everyone's been saying to me. It's like, I mean, me and Sean have been good every weekend. We're riding well at the minute, so it's just on that third rider. I mean, you can bring Dean over from America, which is, I mean, I think that's our best option if we can do that, but it's not always simple bringing American rider over with the flights that they want, and bringing the bikes with Mitch. He wants they want to do everything properly, so it's not it's not an easy thing. So I was trying to sort that out. Hopefully that happen, especially if Dean starts. I think he can start getting up on the podium. But then, if not, we have other good riders to choose from, and maybe I'll drop down to a 250 if Dean can't come over and end up racing a 250. But we'll see how that goes in the next coming weeks.
Obviously, just real quick before we meet our next guest, no Jeffrey Hurlings this weekend. He might be out for the rest of the season. We don't know. Who do you expect to do the winning from here on in?
I think Dylan. I think my teammate Dylan will be good. It's sort of slippery ground, and he's French. But saying that, all the 3 top guys at the minute seem to be French. So we'll see. But I hope for my team that Dylan get a win and they can get a win this weekend.
All right. Well, look, Tommy Searle, CLS Kawasaki Monster Energy, thanks for joining us here on the studio show this weekend. All the best for the rest of the season, and hope it all works out for next year. Thanks for coming in. See you later. Right, competition time once again. Don't forget, if you guess the top 3 this weekend in MXGP and in MX2, then you have the chance to win the Ippon goodies. Also, the MXGP official video game available on all types of medium there, from PS3 to laptops to Macs to everything else. So enter on our Facebook page, and if you guess correctly, then obviously you win all of those Ippon products. So don't forget, we still have our mid-season 50% sale on MXGP season package as well, including 2 days live, which means Saturday qualifying at the Monster Energy Motocross of Nations as well. So if you enter that, good luck with that. And I'm guessing we'll announce the winners very, very soon. Right, our third and final guest, Steve Turner, Wilvo Fortrent KTM team manager, joins us now. Welcome to our studio, Steve.
Morning, Paul.
First of all, no longer a private team. We no longer refer to you as Steve Turner or STR KTM riders. A couple of big sponsors on board this year. That must take the pressure off you massively in terms of riding at MXGP.
Yeah, obviously it takes pressure off. It's an expensive business. We reinvested all the money from what we had in and probably spent a little bit more, but that's taking the team to another level. I mean, Wilvo and Fortrent, yeah, it's really, really welcome support. So yeah, it's made a big difference, and you can see from the presentation of the team, the professionalism this year, we've moved it up. So hopefully move that forward. We don't have to invest as much next year. Yeah. And, yeah, we can keep going, keep the progress going.
And obviously we are coming towards the end of the season. We've got 4 races to go into, including this one. How would you evaluate the 2014 season?
Another tough season.
Yeah.
Not really had the results that we wanted. A bit up and down from both riders. Jake came into the season injured and never really got on a roll. Had good results in Spain, really good, and then British GP, and then had problems in France, and then broke a finger in Maggiora and missed both races, Maggiora, and then British Championship. Yeah. Shredded his little finger, so season over for him.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Mattis first of all. Just the 2 top 10 finishes overall. I think his best one was 9th overall in France. But yeah. Earlier on in the season, round 3, after a couple of up and down weekends in Qatar, Thailand, the opening 2 rounds. Second race in particular, because obviously the first one he crashed on the first turn, not his fault. Yeah. He showed signs of what he could do if he makes a good start, didn't he? Running at the front with the big boys.
Yeah, that's it. That's Mattis. Mattis got the speed. He's got the aggression to get out of the gate. He's got the speed, but it's just a matter of staying on the bike when he's running at that pace. And that's what he's struggled with this season. He's had a lot of little crashes, no real big ones. Normally he'll have one big one every season. This season it's been all little crashes, really annoying little crashes for him. And it's like one good result, one bad result, and that's ruined his chances of being in top 10 overall this season.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've got a clip, well, we had a clip of Mattis in Brazil, that second race, made a good start, running with the likes of Searle and taking it to them, and Paulin. And I mean, as a team manager, after the first 2 rounds, you're kind of thinking, this could be a long season. Then he goes down in the first turn in the first race, gets a good start in the second. What goes through your mind as a team manager this early stage of race 2 with Mattis?
Just stay with him and try and stay on the bike. And he didn't do it. I mean, you never saw it on TV, but he was running really well. But
he's a fighter as well, isn't he? I mean, we just see how he's... Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he went down on I think it's the finish jump. He had a little, just dropped it coming out of the finish jump and just cost him a couple of places. Otherwise, I think he might have stayed up there a couple of places further up. he was following Cairoli after Cairoli got past, and one of his comments was he couldn't believe Cairoli's lines.
Yeah.
And that's it. When you get up there, you start learning off these guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, he has made a lot of good starts this season. Qatari had the whole shot, so it wasn't like all doom and gloom at the first couple of races. Thailand was a disaster, but Qatar, yeah, he had a whole shot, and he was running well until he had coming together with Strybos. Otherwise, he'd have had a good result there as well. But it's all ifs and buts, and it's not really happened.
In the Maxxis British Championship, Matt is obviously riding in MX2, riding a 250. In MXGP, in the World Championship, he's riding at a 350. Is he, I mean, from a production point of view, a 250 and a 350, they're not a million miles apart, are they? It's the obvious choice in terms of going from 250. If you want to end up at 450 eventually, you can ride a 350. It's not so much of a transition. But when you're racing them and you've got a tuned 250 and then a tuned 350, those differences kind of get a little bit bigger, don't they? Is he struggling sometimes to adapt? So we had a British Championship last week, for instance, riding in the sand. He's now coming here on the hard pack, having to ride a 350. Does he take free practice first session, maybe even time training, just that little bit longer to adapt? I know he's got a practice bike as well, but...
Possibly. I mean, he's out on his practice bike during the week. The bike's the same as his race bike, so he managed to get the practice in. So he doesn't see it as a problem. He loves both bikes. He loves riding the 250 and the British. I think he'd have rode the 250 in GPs if I'd have let him, but it doesn't fit in with our team really, what we wanted to do in GP. So, but he absolutely loves the 350.
Right.
He said it's amazing. He loves the bike. So, you know, just I don't think it's a massive issue. I think if he was on a 450, I think that'd be a big issue. I don't think we could do the 250, 450 thing. But
and that makes sense. And that's what I say. You know, KTM obviously have that middle ground bike, don't they? And what about Jake? Again, first year in MXGP, comes from a 250, riding hard, training hard, gets injured beginning of the season, kind of knocked back before he starts, really.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's playing catch-up.
Yeah.
And then something else goes wrong, you're playing catch-up again. It takes a long time to get in the groove, and then he has these injuries, both hands. He's had another operation this week on his left hand, so he's now got both hands out of commission. So.
But he did... you know, he's had a couple of stand-up performances, starting in Spain. Obviously, this was his kind of breakthrough moment, wasn't it, really? Yeah. Second race, out on his own, no one in front, no one at the back of him, pushing him, settled in for sixth position in the second motor. I mean, from you must have been chuffed to bits. And obviously, what we won't hear on this clip is when he comes in and he's still got the GoPro on, and that natural reaction from him.
Yeah, it was a great performance because he came from around 14th.
Yeah.
It's not like he got away in third and held on. He had to pass people to get up to there. That was a really, really good performance, and he followed that by good performances in at Matterley Basin as well. Yeah,
I'd say, you know, that was the following GP, wasn't it, Matterley? So, you know, I think it was he was battling with Tommy in the first race for 5th and 6th, wasn't he? Yeah. Especially when he gets sort of, I guess, in that frame of mind, you know, he is one of those. He's a confidence rider, isn't he? You know, he gets that first result, that 6th. Yeah. He's like, right, now I know this is where I belong. 5th and 6th in Matterley in, you know, the beginning of that first race, probably in the second race, I think, that kept him, you know, from sort of like his best position overall kind of thing. Yeah. But then from France, again, riding good in qualifying, riding good in time sessions, and then 2 problems in France. It was kind of like 1 minute here, next minute sort of back down again.
Yeah, he had 2 crashes in the first race, and then we had a problem with the bike in the second. Just kills the momentum. And then went to Maggiora, and in the qualifying race, he broke I think he's actually found out this week he snapped the tendon in his finger, and that's why he's had to operation. But yeah, it's just unfortunate, and then that's it, rhythm's gone. And then you come back to Tuchenthal, he's riding injured. Yeah. Still was doing well, but then he had a big crash. And it's, again, you just don't get on a roll.
No. And that's what people don't realise, is it? You know, these guys, we're not footballers where they trip over a blade of grass and they're rolling around in agony. And, you know, the motocross guys, they hurl themselves down the straight and they bounce and they pick themselves up, and they're having to ride with niggles the whole season. Yeah. But in terms of Jake himself, do you think it's maybe slightly tougher for him, having finished 4th in the World Championship in MX2 2 years ago, coming into, you know, he had a tough season last year, but he expects himself to be at the front, doesn't he? So is there a little bit of pressure maybe he puts on himself to do well, maybe? Maybe.
He's a sensible guy, though. Yeah. I don't think we talked about it before the season started, and we didn't put any pressure on him to do, you know, fantastically well. We just said we'd build through the season. But the problem is we haven't built through the season because we've been so up and down, and it's just a shame. It's just unfortunate, but that's the nature of the game we're in. You know, you can't guarantee to just plan it out and everything goes as you think. There's a lot of luck and that comes into play. So.
And obviously, there's no, we don't know how soon he can be back on a bike at the moment, because obviously he's still got the scaffolding around the finger and everything else. Yeah. But what about in EMX 250? Adam Sterry, fourth in the championship at the moment. He's already had a race win in what is a very exciting class this year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. I think it's fantastic for the sport, and it's good for these kids to come and ride at this level with all this theatre. And you can see his confidence. He's gone up no end this year. Last year he struggled in the AMX class, but this year he's starting to get up there, and he expects to get out the gate in the top 3 or 4, and he expects to run in the top 3 or 4. And he's had his first win, so he wants another one.
Sure. And before we go, obviously those top 3 or 4 guys, there are 3 Brits inside the top 4, aren't there? We've got Stevie Clark, who's leading it, and we've got, obviously, Brian Bogers has come up into second now with a couple of good, solid performances the last 2 rounds. But Nathan Watson, who's also won a couple of races, Ben Watson, and also Adam, who's won a race, and those 2 are only a couple of points apart.
Yeah,
From a British motocross perspective, that's good, isn't it? 3 guys in the top 4 in MX 250. These guys should, at some point in the future, be able to make that next step.
Yeah, and especially Watson and Sterry, because they're both 17.
Yeah.
They're young kids. So
yeah, we forget Clark is a little bit older, isn't he? Mid-20s.
I think he's 24.
Yeah.
But them 2 kids, yeah, they're great, and they're the future of British motocross for sure.
And what about final 2 rounds? Obviously, we've got to get through this one first. You're a one-man band this weekend with Mattis, but Lommel next week. Mattis, looking forward to that one, and the 2 flyaways.
Yeah, and Adam's out there practicing at the moment.
Yeah.
So he's looking forward to it as well. So yeah, it should be good. I'll be missing on the Saturday because my son gets married. So as soon as it gets to midnight, I'm jumping in the car and driving to Lommel for Sunday. So
there'll be a very weary Steve Turner arriving on Lommel. And just really briefly, at the end of the season, Monster Energy Motocross Nations in Latvia, Mattis Kara obviously going to be looking forward to that, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That will be great. Yeah, and we've got some people coming out as well that have never been before that are coming out to watch. So
busy weekend.
Should be really, really good. Yeah, looking forward to that.
All right, Steve Turner, Wilvo Fortrent team manager, thanks for joining us in here. And, of course, thanks to all our guests as well, Tommy Searle from CLS Kawasaki Monster Energy and Tim Gajser, Garibaldi Honda. That's it. We're out of time this week, but join us in a week's time when we do it again, round 15 at Lommel, the MXGP of Belgium. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then. Bye for now.